All right, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Doing all right?
Yeah, you man laughing.
Try not to blush.
My mouth. Yo. I don't know what y'all's my friends, you know. I really don't.
Hold it up there, Mark. Hold it up.
How what is my friends? I have no clue. I must see long suffering.
Okay.
I know. Hey, you done me up with that one. I can't even introduce you, sure. You got Hi everybody and welcome to the living room. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday wherever you are. Whether it's Sunday morning, wherever you are, if it's afternoon, evening, night, welcome to the living room. You're here on V Global's Facebook channel. It's me, Andre, I was gonna say good friends, but I don't know. There's some two people I know, Philip and Mark. And if this is your first time, this is the living room. Welcome. We thank you so much for joining us. We just like to have good old Caribbean conversation. How are we doing, guys?
Wait, I missed a spot there. Wait.
Just the nose, just above the nose.
I missed a
We're
spot.
doing good.
Boy, you so ignorant. Seriously. You're so stupid.
In case people are wondering what that is all about, Phil, you think we need to give them a little bit of a reminder?
I think so.
So this week was a fairly big.
Them. But we thought it was important to say no. We should be the one creating that
just
content
BCL.
of our own people and celebrate.
Right. So,
So you stick there? I know I stick.
so the big question for us as a team this week has been whether or not Mr. Barra has been having any work done on his eyebrows.
The eyebrows, yeah. There's been a lot of debate about that. Is he a fucker? Or is he threading?
So I just pausing it there for a little bit so everybody could see. Everybody could see.
Listen. I like the color. What? Are you not even?
Or still, you need a better color.
Anyway,
Man, look. Listen.
Wow.
I do not do anything with my eyebrows. These have been my eyebrows since I was born. I've never done anything with my eyebrows. Just so you know.
Okay.
And there's no shade of Fenty on me. Just so you know. I didn't do any color matching. That's just my natural look, man. What's wrong with y'all? Y'all don't jealous me. Don't jealous me, you know? Plucking. Natural beauty. I agree. Yeah. Natural beauty. I agree.
Wow. Well, okay. Fair enough.
The funny thing is, my WhatsApp after that interview on Morning Barbados, I was going crazy after the interview. All the fellas from university and different places keep asking me, "Wait, Carol shaving in my eyebrows? What's going on?"
So I would say, congratulations on the television debut, man.
Look fishy. Ain't nothing fishy about that, Marika.
Maybe it's because you usually wear your glasses, but you had on something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all.
Do you reckon that's what?
That's all it was.
I gave a little door there to get hope.
I ain't in the door, man. I was good. It was. Okay. That's just me. That's just me, man. I don't,
Listen. If that's your thing, that's your thing, bro.
Exactly.
But you did a fantastic job, man. You did a fantastic job.
It was good.
No, thank you. That was good representing you guys. It was good. It was a good conversation we had there on Morning Barbados this week. If anyone is joining from that, welcome. If this is your first time, but it was good. It was good. I had a good chat.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see, beyond the screen. Anyhow.
You killed me there. Look, guys, I had no idea that Mark was gonna open with this thing. You killed me with that. You hide that one well.
Yeah, man.
You nearly killed me. I was like, where was that? Thank you, Adrian.
All right.
I was like, okay. He says it was a fantastic interview. Thank you very much.
It was for sure. We thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, indeed, it was good.
Well, listen, people coming to your rescue there, man.
Yeah, well, thank you very much to the living room audience for coming to my rescue there, man. I thank you very much. Anyway, what y'all guys get to this week, man?
This week was just winding down homeschool.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, so school start back here in the UK tomorrow.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all the parents celebrating all across the UK. They wine out, everybody celebrating.
Yeah, man.
You know, one of the mistake, I don't know if it's a mistake, but one of the things that teachers did is they sent out this email saying, don't worry about this week. We'll repeat a lot of stuff next week. Because as soon as they sent that out, I know a lot of parents, I confess, like myself, just looked at
no worry about it.
Should have said, just get on with it. Don't confuse me. You know? And spent the week catching up on some other stuff. But yeah.
Well, I can't wait to get mine out the door tomorrow. Although one of them discovered during the course of the week that he ain't really going back till Thursday. And it was,
He find out?
I mean, we were trying to keep this thing secret, and he had a drumming lesson this week, and all the other kids on the call were saying, but we're not going back till Thursday. Man, he went berserk. Why did nobody tell me? Why you tell me anything? I've been going to bed early for nothing.
So I was going to say, you had to go in bed early day to get ready.
We started here for tomorrow morning, and then children gone and open them out knowing, and it's like, geez. So.
That's about.
But I'm glad.
You're going to send him up to school tomorrow?
No, but at least we would have got a little peace, because you can't get a little peace in the house at night, no, man. Can't get a little peace. 11 o'clock, they're still asking your questions. Like, man, just go your bed now.
All the routine gone through you, and the thing is, I dispense with the routine long time. You can't be bothered with it, man. So I just went, just like
reestablish that now over the next couple of weeks.
Over the next few days, yeah, for real.
Not gone. But looking forward to it, man. It should be an interesting season though. Switching, even though they're only going in for 2 or 3 weeks, and then back off again for Easter
break.
But that's alright, because at least they get that initial process of getting back into a routine, going back to school on the way. So coming out to Easter should be easier to get them out through the door, So that's good. So I'm glad they're going back. The girls are happy to be going back to school. So why not?
What for them back tomorrow?
No, one tomorrow, the other one on Tuesday, but then fully back everybody on Wednesday. Normal classes, providing all the tests are okay, because I think they got to get tested 2 or 3 times a week.
You got your COVID kits?
I have not got my COVID kit yet, so that's one of the things that they're doing here. The kids got to get tested about 2 or 3 times a week, and then after that they're sending COVID kits to the home, and you got to do it at home with the kids. But I ain't too sure about pushing that thing at the girls' nose 2 or 3 times a week, man. I ain't really about that, yeah.
Just let Carol do it.
I wish I would probably do. Not really about that. That's not the gift. I can understand doing the test, but that often seems a bit, in the nose and stuff seem a bit wrong. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. Anybody there in the chats tell me how they find getting the tests and what's not. But I find it just seem a bit much.
Well, I think the thing is to what do you do if one of them get a positive test? Because we keep hearing all sorts of different things. Yeah. So if one of the kids get a positive test, what do you do? Do they have to come home? The whole family has to isolate? We don't know. So it's interesting to see what's happening there.
Well, in some cases, we've been seeing entire classes and schools shutting down if one kid has a positive. So I think we're going to still get that.
But have you seen also the government has been saying today, you might have a 5-term school year and longer days, etc. You saw that?
I saw that, and the girls saw that too. They're not happy about that, obviously. I don't know how it will operate though. I almost feel that sometimes you could go slightly too overboard with that one, only because it is better to get them back into a routine without. I think when you try to play catch up is when things could potentially spiral out of control and what's not. And the reason for that is the kids just spend so long sitting down in front of screens and what's not. That in itself was trying. That in itself was hard. That in itself was a struggle. I don't think they should try to do the whole longer days, longer week, longer terms catch up thing. No, just go back into the routine, adjust the end as opposed to trying to adjust the process, if you know what I mean. Because what they were doing, studying from home, was already a huge adjustment. I would say don't try more adjustment in the middle of that in the hopes of getting back to normal. I would say adjust the exams, adjust something at the end, adjust the school-based assessments, but let the kids go back into a relatively normal routine as opposed to something completely different again. That's just my view.
Yeah, man, I agree. But whatever happens, I'm looking forward to it. Praise the Lord again, that is school. Get them out of the house, please. Thank you very much. Come soon enough. So you scan the region this week, man, to see what's going on?
Well, to me, the only thing that was going on across the region was a whole bunch of vaccinations, to be honest with you. And then, of course, which is good to see. I see that, even the Chinese vaccination, I don't even know what it's called, is in some parts of the Caribbean there as well. I think Dominica. I've got a whole set of that. I saw India donated a whole other set across the OECS as well, and different places. I don't know if Jamaica got some as yet. I think they're supposed to, but I don't know if they actually got it. And then in speaking of Jamaica,
there's a lot of problems there.
Jamaica is in a bit of a crisis at the moment that we hope to get out to, but we can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I saw the Barry Hammond concert last weekend.
Man, that was top.
I still have to watch that.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic.
That was top, man. That Barry Hammond's thing was. I'm a real huge reggae man. I like some, but I'm a huge reggae. I like my soca and thing, but that Barry Hammond's concert was good. That was real good, man. He spent
the ladies would have been out in numbers.
Indeed. Well, my voice is just crystal
sweet,
clear, man.
Crystal clear,
man.
Sweet.
It's just really, really, really good. It was good. I had a lot of fun watching that.
Awesome. So who have we got in the living room today, man?
Well, in the living room today, we got some good friends. Returning, we have Charmaine from Jamaica. If you don't know, Charmaine was actually on our... Is it second
episode? Yeah,
second episode, which was actually a year ago, believe it or not. Our second episode. We were even doing live then. We were recording, I believe. We were recording and then editing and pushing it out. Oh, Lord. I'm glad we're done with that, though.
Yeah, but hard work.
That's hard work. So Charmaine is returning from Jamaica, and then from Barbados, we have Rachel and we have Stacia. And we're just going to have a good conversation. Obviously, during this period, everyone's been working from home. I've been working from home. I know you guys as well. We had homeschooling. Yeah. Tons of people from home, different parts of the Caribbean, in and out of lockdowns and what's not. And the whole conversation around, is working from home for me. I think when you personalize it like that's how most people are looking at it. Is this something I could do long term? Or do I want to get back into the office? I know my answer to that one. So we just thought, let's have a Caribbean conversation about that. So we got these guys and say, let's have a chat.
Yeah, man.
So that's what we're looking to do. So we're going to have that. And guys, in the comments, as usual, get in the comments. Let us know what you guys are thinking as well. We'll try to get as much stuff up on the screen and bring everyone into the conversation. And do us a favor as well. Hit share, bring in your friends, bring in your network, get as many people in. We don't do interviews. We don't have just Caribbean conversation between three Bajan fellas. We have Caribbean conversation. So bring in as many people as possible. But we're going to bring everyone else into the living room now.
Absolutely.
So let's bring in Charmaine.
Welcome back.
Charmaine first through the door.
I was going to say happy anniversary, guys.
Hi.
Oh, thank you. She was itching to get in. See how she burst through the door?
Pull it off the hinges.
Welcome back, Charmaine.
Welcome, ladies.
To see you, man. And
Thank
welcome,
you.
Stacia and Rachel. First timers to the living room. Welcome.
Hello. Good to be here.
Hi, good to be here.
Excellent.
So, Charmaine, perhaps we start with you first because we were just briefly mentioning there, COVID in Jamaica, which seemed to be, escalating. So let's have a quick chat about that before we start talking about working from home. What's happening in Jamaica?
Oh, well, today is interesting just because it's the highest that we've ever had. So it's 723 cases. So, uh, yeah, not the greatest day that we've had so far. So, in fact, working from home seems we should be doing more of it than less. Yeah. And we haven't gotten any vaccines yet, whereas, lots of my friends in the region have already been vaccinated. One actually has gotten her second dose.
Oh wow!
Really?
Vaccines are due to start coming in tomorrow,
Tomorrow.
and with a second set coming in a couple of weeks after that, and then a large set in April. So, wow, it's going to be a situation indeed.
And how are people feeling about what's happening? Because obviously this kind of a second wave, second
Yeah.
spike, whatever you call it. What's the mood of people like? How are they coping?
Wow, it varies as with most things. I think there are a lot of people like me who are increasingly concerned about what's happening, but there are also a lot of people who don't even believe that a crisis is occurring.
Still.
And then there are people who are in the middle of those two. So I think what happens and what will happen is that we need more of those people who are not understanding to get it because it's going to affect them, whether you like it or not. It's coming. 723 people in a day is serious in a small island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How are the hospitals? How are the hospitals doing in Jamaica?
They are not doing well. So we're having a situation in which hospitals are over 85% capacity. Most public hospitals are, and some are even over 100% capacity. So we've started adding field hospitals, which means hospitals which are sort of tent-like structures which are outside.
Wow.
And if you can imagine, those still have to be staffed. So, more and more pressure on the healthcare system. Ventilators are in short supply. People are dying just because, well, in some cases they're dying of COVID because, a ventilator failed. But in another case, there was a terrible case of a young asthmatic patient who went to one of our largest hospitals and then said, and they turned her away to go to a smaller facility. And she died. So she didn't die of COVID, but certainly she died because of COVID.
Yeah.
Which
And that's the I was gonna say that's the
terrible.
thing, right? There's the pressure on the health system. It's causing its own issues as well, right? And that's what everyone is trying to avoid. That's the reason for the lockdowns. That's the reason for the curtail of certain, rights, so to speak, as people are saying. It's not just you die of COVID, but it's just the knock-on effect on the system as a whole.
It's past urgency now, I think. And, God bless the government. I see them trying. Honestly, I do see them trying. I see the members of the opposition, my MP, for example, he's sending out messages. He has a town crier trying to get people to understand. It's not that there is a lack of trying, but it is, it's not working as well as to have 723 cases in a day, 500 and something the day before, and 400 and something the day before.
Record numbers every day.
Yeah. And then I was just going to say, Trinidad is having, a 4 and a 5. And here we are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we'll continue to keep our eyes across that, Charmaine, and stay in touch as far as that's concerned, because it's quite worrying. We've got quite a huge Jamaican community here in the UK as well who are watching with a lot of interest.
Yeah.
So let's go to Barbados then. Rachel and Stacey both welcome, and Rachel, I'll start with you then. So we're into this topic about working from home. Prior to the pandemic, know how widespread this might have been across Barbados, for example. So shed a little bit of light about the newness of it and how it has started to take some root during the pandemic.
Oh, definitely. I think working from home was a bit of a, different in terms of how people have had to adapt, even in terms of IT systems. Some people just didn't have the right hardware, especially last year when everything started to kick into gear. I think IT people had to, jump on board quickly and try and figure out solutions for people.
Yeah.
And I guess it was a mix of things because companies, I think, over time have become more flexible and tried to find ways where people may have had to work from home for various reasons. So I think that there was some infrastructure in place, but I think that some of the maybe small to medium businesses would have obviously had some challenges around that some of the bigger enterprises may have had more and better infrastructure. So I think trying to figure that out, trying to navigate that journey was obviously challenging for many people. But I think it's become a bit more accepted. And even when things were released last year in terms of being able to go back out to work, I think people were working a bit different in terms of flexibility of companies. And so there's some good things I see coming out of that in terms of ability to work from home and how you work from home. You can hear some people say, I actually work better from home in some cases. I'm more focused. So there's different types of talk, and then there are other people who are like, it was just impossible. And I could see some of my clients where, they went to work from home and it was just more difficult, especially when you're dealing with, depends on what you're dealing with. If you have a lot of paperwork and stuff that you generally work with, and now you're forced to do on screen, sometimes just toggling that information is really challenging. So I think there's just a mixed bag of reactions, emotions, and all around from companies and employees.
Yeah. And Stacey, what about yourself? What are you seeing? A, and then B, how are you coping working from home for a prolonged period of time?
Well, honestly, I'm seeing quite a bit of what Rachel is seeing. I think the larger companies have managed to adapt pretty well in terms of their teams working from home. A lot of people say they work longer hours since they are working from home because they tend to be working and it's going into dark and they didn't realize they need to stop. I personally am in advocacy communication, so it was very much the same thing with me, where I was working a lot longer hours and definitely consistently without taking breaks as well. I know those people working at home and they have their kids at home to manage as well was a bit of a challenge. Because you have to balance between paying attention to your kids, working, doing school from at home, and then you still have to be paying attention, obviously, to your work. So it became a very challenging situation for some people. And even the school hours or the intensity of school also became a challenge as well. So it's been a little hard to adapt. And it's caused people to find inventive and creative solutions within their own households. And it's just been a very, very challenging situation for the last year or so, because I personally have been working for the last year at home. I never went back out to work.
I tell you, I don't know how I gonna find it to do the commute again though, back into London. I could tell you, because I kind of enjoy, rolling out at a certain time, 15 minutes, a little, and train on a shirt and
A little powder in the block.
a little
Ready for Zoom?
I can
Sorry.
I can report you. I can report you. We can hire some HR we global. I can report you for bullying.
Sorry.
No, but I think that's the thing is the how early, how I was speaking to a friend earlier today. She was like, I used to wake up at 5:30 to drive to a certain point, then to catch a train to go into London, and now she's like, I just can't see myself doing that again.
It's going to have a
That's
massive.
you think?
It's going to have a massive impact. I've had good days and bad like everybody else. Some weeks I just felt so motivated, got so much stuff done, and then some weeks you just feel like you're dragging yourself off the floor, man. Can't find the motivation, and going around the house working from different spots in the house, and it's like, oh man, it just don't feel as though it's working. But like you. There's a big decision to make once we start talking about a proper full return. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think so. I think people are going to find it really hard. And companies as well. Don't know.
Yep.
There's this challenge though that people, I myself have it sometimes as well. This challenge of when you're working at home, you start to say, "Am I really working? Should I be doing a bit more?" Then
You still there
almost
now?
have.
You find
You
so?
sometimes you still have this desire to do more than you really need to. But it depends on what sort of role you do. If you work in a kind of delivery centric role where you have deliverables every week and so on, then it's probably not a problem because you will deliver to your deliverables. But if you are in a sort of role that is based a lot on engagement, chatting with people and conversations and determining what is a relevant piece of work for this week and so on, that can be a little bit more challenging.
No, I could be right. Could be right.
Well, I found that particularly here in the UK, where we've had this stop-start thing with kids in school and stuff, that has had a really big impact on how you retain the discipline, and it will be good to see how the guys across the Caribbean dealt with that. Those who had kids, those who didn't have kids, what was the comparison? And I know we haven't heard you on this yet, Charmaine, so it would be good to see what your experience has been so far.
Working from home for about 15 months since moving back to Jamaica from Trinidad. I started working from home. So even when my office formally went work from home, it wasn't a difference. So I got hired and I've never been into my office. So it's not, this is my normal working from home.
Do you want to take the office though?
Oh gosh. Let me tell you, it's a combination. Like, I do believe that there is a lot more focus when you are at home. And I've always found that. So I've done that in other places where I've worked. If I needed to really crack on something, that's what I would do. Go home, make something nice to eat, make that coffee, and just get at it. But there is a lovely thing when you sit and have just minutes of conversation with your colleagues and, toss some ideas around and a little brainstorm, even if it's not formal, that is helpful and enriching to work. So, a lot of people in the chat are talking about how hard it is to kind of break from work and do things, just a little bit of a walk around.
Yeah.
And you find out work that would be easier just because people would stop by, or you get up and make a coffee or something. I find that if you're at home, a lot of the times you're just slogging away at it.
You're just slogging away, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And in that hour when you're saying that you would go home for lunch in an hour and make something nice to eat, what you would do?
I know you pick up on that,
What you could do in that short space and get back to work?
You cook the food before and then you warm it up.
You warm it up.
A little TV.
Right, so you're warming up something that you have prepared.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. This is not like a sandwich or.
This is not a. She's not going home to do a cabbage bread.
Because I was going to say, sandwich is not nice.
Got you.
But Rachel, what is I know you got some clients and stuff. What's the attitude of business you're finding in Barbados? Because the attitude of people and what they're going through is one thing, but what's business feeling? What do you think?
It's interesting because I have a client that's an essential service client. So I have kind of a dual role. So I do financial consulting, but I also have my executive coaching. And so I'm kind of seeing it from all around different angles. So one of my main clients is a essential service, and it actually feels a little weird because everybody's on this pause or lockdown, and yet they're kind of full force in terms of getting in and doing what they have to do, but also trying as a business to adapt where those who could work from home, trying to allow them to work from home, or some days in office and some days out of office. So it is interesting from that perspective, seeing how people are trying to function. Other companies now unfortunately have no business.
Mm.
Yeah.
And you have the administration role, which still has to continue. But also, clients sometimes breaking my heart where they are reaching out trying to pivot their business. What do I do? How do I, can I sell? How do I pivot? I've tried online and it's not working. And so it is really a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the stories are heartbreaking, and and then you have the other side where some people are able to amazingly thrive in this time.
Yeah.
Which is
What do you think is the differentiator? Because I guess in some cases it's based on what type of business you're in. But are there other sort of characteristics of people
I
who are
see
thriving?
people that have adapted even to online, and it does work for some businesses. So, like I have a girl that does yoga, and in days
She's
when
thriving.
we went into lockdown, she is thriving.
She's thriving.
Yet,
Yeah.
I have another client that is a school, and it's a different kind of school, and it is not working for them. It's very hard with the type of what they offer. It is just difficult, because I was like, pivot online, come, let's do it quickly. And it is not working for them. So it depends. It also has shown where people are heavily tourist dependent. And their business model is, it may be multiple businesses, but all tourist related, has caused them to really go back to the drawing board and think about things. And what I've seen coming out is that they are trying to pivot in a way of creating non-tourist related business to support the tourist related business, so that if they were ever to find themselves in a position like this again, they have some sustainability from other business that is non-tourism generating, which is very interesting. That's what I'm seeing.
And the trust element, because I think one of the things that before this period, there was this whole thing about trust and whether or not employers could actually trust employees to work from home, so to speak. You mentioned work from home, and it was almost as if okay, so you need to check in every 30 minutes or every hour to let me see what you've done and what you're doing and what you've delivered, and let's set you all these tasks and goals to deliver on this day. And it's like, it's only just one day, right? No, now all of it, and also the whole thing about what we do here cannot be done from home. We need the whole team together. But now that's completely changed, Stacey. Do you think that trust is going to continue when it's no longer a mandate that we work from home?
Well, I hope so. I think a lot of employers have had to confront that challenge of putting their employees in a situation where that they're going to do their work, and their deliverables at the end of the day is what matters more than the time they put in. And that has been always something I felt Barbadian employers kind of tried to make sure that people work for like 8 hours a day or 40 hours a week, when it's more about the productivity and the deliverables that they do more than the amount of time they put in. And I think they've been confronted with that in this situation, and some of them didn't know how to navigate it. I know a lot of companies, or a few bigger companies, have kind of kept having their employees do meetings after meetings after meetings, and then they didn't actually have the amount of time to do the work.
There's nothing more tiring.
So I think employers have had to confront that challenge within themselves and learn how to navigate that trust issue, where at the end of the day they realize it's more about their employer creating an environment for their employees to feel as though they're trusted, and to look at the deliverables more than the time, because I don't think that the time matters half as much as the productivity and the deliverables that they do. I'm in communications, so we changed our whole ethos into social media. Social media became our voice, and it was so intense because at that point in time, a lot of companies were still trying to navigate it. Some people just use social media as a small add-on, and it became the voice for companies and organizations and NGOs, and that brought a whole new space to doing business in Barbados.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, someone asked if employers are going to be able to justify, refusing flexible working once we return to this. Do you think they're going to find it harder?
I think they will find it harder to not put flexible hours in place for employees, particularly considering Barbados is still having kids work from home. And if you have kids working from home, not everybody has a caretaker or a granny to help them. So that's still a very present dynamic in Barbados. How do you help your employees to be able to take care of their kids and have that time, but also trust that they will do their deliverables and hand over whatever they have to do for work? Barbados is a very traditional society. Unfortunately, it takes a little time to evolve here. People tend to hold on to old ways of doing business, and I think the pandemic kind of just forced people into a space that they realized, oh my goodness, we can't do what we've been doing for the last 30 years.
Absolutely. And go ahead, Phil.
No, I was just following up there because the trust is one of the things, but another tension that, at least in our workplace, that we've been discussing a lot is rights and responsibility. You have your rights as an individual, but then you have your corporate responsibility that's tied up into your relationship with your colleagues and the culture, the environmental, the corporate culture that you work in, the deliverables that you have, the general things you're expected to do in your role. And I think it's difficult sometimes to resolve that tension. And that comes down to employers finding the right narrative and the right way of communicating with staff around ensuring that your responsibilities are still clear and owned, and there's accountability.
Absolutely.
But still that people's rights are not intruded on.
That's a fantastic point. And Charmaine, this whole question of employers and trusts, how has that played out in Jamaica in this work from home season?
Yeah, trust is a definite issue, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and pretend that it's not. I think it's meaning though, we're now a year on. By now, I think most people are realizing there are people who will do well in this paradigm, and then people who won't.
Yeah.
But I tell people all the time, like, you can waste as much time in front of your boss as you can behind their back. So honestly,
that's very true.
The insistence to come to work and to deliver is, in my mind, not going to be something which is going to be an expectation going forward. I think it's going to be a hybrid. I've seen a lot of younger companies here starting to sell off their assets, their office assets, because they're like, we are not going to go back. This is working for us, and we can see a way forward. So this is going to, in my mind, this is a new business. So co-working spaces for people who need to get together once in a while to meet, or have offices where they can conduct small meetings. That's going to be the wave, I think, rather than insisting that people you can see them, because quite frankly, it in my mind, it doesn't help or hurt to have people doing work in a place in which they feel comfortable. No, and there's an onus also on the people who are working to make sure that they check in with their bosses and continue to deliver. And when you're not delivering, to be able to say, look, I'm having an off day, or, so you can expect this work on Friday. That's a decision that you have to make in order to make this thing work for the rest of us, quite frankly. I think the trust issue is a serious one, but I see that there is some level of trust, and I see younger entrepreneurs especially really exploring it. And some of the larger companies are starting to write those work from home policies, because now they've So, when you always talk about, oh, we need to pilot it. Here's the pilot.
It's had it for a year, just
You
over
had
a
a
year
whole
now.
year of pilot, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
I think
so-
the young businesses are saying, we want to get on with what we're doing without the overheads as much as possible.
Right.
So they're now seeing the opportunity. Aha. Whereas the older established institutionalized organizations are being dragged, probably were kicking and screaming 6 months ago, but maybe they're now figuring it out. Because I was saying to the guys, the office where I am, we had 2 buildings. We were looking for 1 building to put everyone in.
Right.
They've scrapped that idea now all of a sudden, as well as they've gotten rid of one of the buildings. So now they're completely rethinking how they're doing it. So the flexibility of not only where you work, whether in the office or at home, but also how, like you were saying just now, Charmaine, if you got it off day or you're just not feeling it today, in the past, you either had to take a sick day, a holiday, or something. Now the opportunity is probably there to, you know what, I'll log on at 11 and then
Yes.
kick on after that. I'll touch base with emails if anything is important. But look, guys, I need to come in at 2 and I'll kick on till later on in the evening. And now the opportunity is there that you can actually do that.
And I love that, by the way. So I love the flexibility of being able to stop in the middle of the day and go and spend some time with my mother and come back, or start at 6 o'clock in the morning and
Exactly.
finish at 3. Those are options that are now available to you that weren't available before.
Yeah, and there's a lot to learn and embed coming out of this season. And I noticed the conversation has been almost very focused on the private sector. Now, governments are big employers across the Caribbean, right?
And they like to see people. They
Absolutely.
like to see people.
Absolutely. So perhaps this is where the biggest challenge is going to come. The private sector can flex and move and evolve over time rather quickly. What about governments? How are we seeing government institutions, Stacey, flex in this space and start to accommodate some of this flexibility that will be required?
I think they unwillingly went to that space. They were very confronted with, oh my goodness, my employees will not be in front of me in an office every day. But they had to implement, as we have a comment here, they had to implement flexi work policy because obviously they can't provide the environment that's required. And I think this is our second lockdown, and our national pause, as they put it. And they had to make sure that their employees were able to work from home in a productive way. I know a lot of government employees in Barbados, they're at work, but that doesn't mean they're being productive.
Be careful there, yeah. Careful.
So I used to be a government employee myself, and it's a very interesting dynamic. So it was them being forced into that space of having flexi time for workers. And then obviously some government workers are essential services as well. And you have to be able to provide an environment where they can work safely too. Thankfully, I think the government here in Barbados has remained pretty open to doing things different.
Well, I see this guy, Michael coming back and saying,
laying it out.
Michael, you're kind of harsh there, though, Michael.
Laying it out, plain.
But is that kind of the attitude of the public when it comes to public servants as well?
Yes.
And the view, even before working from home was invoked, so to speak, or a necessity, even when everyone was going in the office, the view of public workers, unfortunately, was that they weren't being very productive. So Michael is actually reflecting the public, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It used to be hard to get government agencies to actually provide one, customer service, or two, what you're actually looking for in a timeline that they advertise works. So it was very difficult for the public of Barbados they were always complaining about government agencies. Always. I don't know one that was labeled as productive and efficient in Barbados. Even switching to a lot of ICT solutions within government agencies has seemed really difficult as well. Either their systems were down or what they advertised wasn't working according to how it was supposed to, and it made the public very frustrated. So that has been a very hard space for government in Barbados during our lockdowns.
Yeah, and I don't think it's something that is specific to Barbados. Governments are large employers, and there's always a lot of inefficiencies in some government organizations. And I see in the chat there that some people are saying it's not just a Barbados issue. So, but clearly, yeah, absolutely. But clearly, there will have to be some embedded learning moving forward from this point, and that is how we will know whether or not there has been a real benefit derived out of this season. And I wonder if you are seeing any of that starting already, Rachel.
You're on mute, Rachel.
Oh, I'm on mute.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got you
Yeah.
now.
When you were talking, what came to me is, infrastructurally. Sometimes you kind of have to take a step back, analyze the situation, and see what's working and what's not. What else needs to be put in place? I have seen here, they've been going online with certain payment structures, which is great, which is what we've been begging for. The only thing is that, sometimes when there's a hiccup, who do you call? And you end up spending a lot of time trying to get in touch with someone. So I think that they are making roads in the direction that is positive. That is also a little bigger than that, because what is going to have to happen, I think, is they're going to have to assess some roles within government to say, okay, so maybe you were doing this. How else can we utilize your strengths and put you in a position that you're still able to use them and use them for the benefit of the country? But it may just look a little different, and I think that would have to evolve over time. You would have to step back and see what's working and what rules now that may be somewhat eliminated. How else?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's stuck.
That feels what Rachel is talking about there feels a bit like a cultural shift, though, in order to go to this sort of flexible role assignment based on your strengths and your skills, as opposed to what you're contracted to do.
And you didn't even start talking to the unions yet.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's another conversation there. No,
Just thinking one government office that I hope does not go online is the licensing authority, because I would I would miss my 2 hours anytime I go home. My 2 hours being in the queue, waiting to get my visitor's license.
3 hours.
And only to get to the front of the queue, and the lady continues chatting with the other teller next to her, and then asks me, "Where are you staying, sir?" You go, "Hall." He just stares at me. I was like,
well, you sound aggressive when you say so, though, so that's why she's staring at you.
Exactly 2 hours. 2 hours waiting.
Oh,
So I just asked her, "Ego Hall." But she looked at me. I was like, "Ego Hall," and she went, "Where? On the moon?" Well, I thought there's only one Ego Hall in Barbados.
You get rude now.
You get rude. You get rude.
Charmaine, do you recognize the whole conversation around government institutions and the need to flex?
Yeah, very much so. So we have the same. I mean, you could be talking about our issues. So right now, though, the Prime Minister had asked public sector workers to work from home. So they are currently working from home because of the situation, and that was actually in part because there were offices that had a small explosion of cases just because they were working together within an office. So there are, I think you're going to see he said, make sure that we put in as many processes to make sure that this works. And once you put in those processes, it would make sense that you continue them. So, a lot of people are talking about a lot of services that the government offers are being put online now, very much the same way in Jamaica. So I think,
But
yeah,
no,
I
go
was going
ahead.
to say that I think what we need to do though is just to make sure that that we push as much as we can without losing, vulnerable folks who may not have all of the advantages that others have. And that's true for both the customers, the citizens, but also, we take for granted that people have internet access and all of those things, and have the ability to have air conditioning. Just because the Caribbean people being real, some of those things are not accessible, or I can't afford it. So there are some things that need to be thought through, especially for public sector worker. Well, through a private sector as well, eh? But but I think it's well worth giving people the option.
I agree. I think I like your point that you made there just now, Charmaine, because I think one of the things that will come out of it as a positive is that need to look at the infrastructure and how we deliver services. And I saw someone there saying that in Trinidad, actually, even though initially they had inefficiencies, some services improve because governments by and large are fairly people heavy. And sometimes we think the process can't happen without people. Not that you're trying to get rid of people, don't get me wrong. But I mean, I'm just talking about improving and making it a little bit more efficient. And forcing some of those to go online and to digitize and what's not. I think some services actually may have improved over this, because now you take the time span of people doing a task to move things along. All of a sudden, because it's digitized, it just moves along the workflow, and some things may have improved. But I think, as a region, looking at the infrastructure and what it takes to work from home, what it means to work from home, it was forced upon us, but I think it gives us a glimpse of if something like this happen again, or some other natural disaster, or something that forces everyone to be from at home. Perhaps we can get ahead of the curve now and improve in our infrastructure to make that a bit easier.
That said, we've also seen some creative use of what you have. Because remember when we were doing the Trinidad, we were we were doing education, and we had one of the teachers from Trinidad, can't remember her name.
Chanel.
Chanel, yes. And she was talking about that they were delivering some education on television and radio and so on. I was like, we're not doing that in the UK. All of our learning that's being offered is just online, right? Because nobody thought about people who don't have PCs or tablets and so on, but might have a radio, might have a television to receive terrestrial training.
True. It's so true. I heard math lessons and English lessons being delivered on a radio in Barbados, and I thought it's such a fantastic idea, because you can become so obsessed very narrowly with the technology that we have here now, forgetting that you still have this wide suite available. I thought it was really, really fantastic, actually.
Yeah, those broadcasters need to get with it.
I don't disagree. So look, I will share. I'll share a little bit of advice, actually, because you might find this interesting. A piece of research from Harvard, I think it was, looking at this whole question of working from home, how to actually work. See what you think.
All right.
And more people are getting the opportunity to work from home, which is great. But sometimes, like what's happening right now with the coronavirus, certain circumstances may actually force people to work from home. And while working from home does come with a lot of perks, you get to work in your pajamas, you have no commute, you get to hang out with your dog. I love you. It also does have some real challenges. Because there's less structure, you may actually work too much and focus too hard and get burned out.
What's the answer?
The second is actually kind of the opposite. It might just be hard to focus and get as much done as you really want to do. The key to overcoming both of these challenges is to set boundaries around your time and space. So when you're working, and when you're not working, you're not. Here's how. The first thing you're gonna wanna do is give yourself a dedicated workspace away from distraction, meaning away from the TV, away from any music or the kitchen. One thing that's really helpful is to be able to shut the door so that you're out of sight. The second thing you wanna do is make a schedule and stick to it. And it may sound silly, but you actually wanna pretend that you're not working from home. So get up as you normally would, pour yourself a cup of coffee, sit down with your computer. It's good practice to play out for yourself what's acceptable and not acceptable to do during office hours. So for example, when you're at work, you're not gonna play with your dog or listen to music. So don't do them while you're at home actually focusing on your work. Finally, you're gonna wanna quit at quitting time. Even if you're in the middle of a project, put it down because it'll help you get jump started the next day. Do you wanna get me sipping my coffee? Okay. The third thing you're gonna wanna do is set boundaries. The people or animals in your life are gonna see you at home and think you're taking the day off, but that's not the case. Buddy, I need you to listen to me. I know what this looks like, but it's not what it seems. You're gonna wanna explain to them unapologetically that you're working from home. We'll go on a walk at lunch, we'll go to the park. And the more they see you around the house doing your thing, the more they're gonna begin to understand that this is your time to focus. So at the end of the day, you might feel like you just didn't get enough done. This is pretty normal and a lot of people feel this way when they work from home. That's why the last thing that's really important to do is celebrate your wins. Maybe you write them down and go over everything you did that day. These daily reminders are really good because they can create a virtuous cycle. And the next time you work from home, you might feel a little bit more focused and just like better about your day when it's over, because it's not easy.
Wow. There's quite a few things there that I recognize, and I'll just pick two: set boundaries and winning. I decided over the course of COVID that when I have a good day, I'm going to finish early because it can because it can go badly very, very quickly. So that was one of mine. I just decided when I'm having a good day, I'm just gonna finish early. What kind of boundaries have you been setting for yourself, Stacey?
Well, honestly, my work boundary in terms of my work hours, because I have a tendency to keep going. And then the next day I wake up vexed. So I have to put boundaries in place for my own mental health and my own joy level. I can't
and the safety of those around you.
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do the going thing. And I think what she said about celebrating wins is really, really important as well, because I have a tendency to just, as I said, keep going and not taking moments to celebrate the big wins or the small wins, whatever they are. But those are necessary for me to feel as though I'm accomplishing my deliverables as well. But I think a couple things aren't possible in some households, because some households have a lot of family members and they may not be able to find a dedicated space. So it might find the end of the dining room table or something to make it become your workspace. So those types of things, I think you have to just find what works for you in your situation.
Phil, you got interesting boundary set that you use mechanism that you use to say when you're at work and when you're not. What's that?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't have it with me right now, but what I do is...
Man, I tell you, bring the thing.
When I work, what I do is I put on my lanyard.
We phone the man, and the man got the lanyard on, so that.
Yeah, I tell the guys,
can't talk to y'all now at work.
I'm at work. And then once work is finished, I take it off, and it's like a weight lifted, and I drop it. And I say that's the end of work. And it means I'm free to work anywhere. I can work anywhere I want. One thing though, I never work in pajamas. That's out. Never do that. Because pajamas are for sleeping, and if you're working in your pajamas, then suddenly you've made that boundary a lot more fuzzy than it needs to be.
Man, sound judgmental there though. But anyhow,
Yes, it was meant. If you are a culprit of pajama working,
Shame on you.
I'm sure everyone's done it once or twice. For the entire year, Phil, you haven't done a pajama work yet?
never.
Wow.
Why do it? Nope.
Why not? All right. If I ain't said nothing on that one at all, let me just leave that alone.
Man, judgy.
Yeah, always. To be honest, before when we started, I was dressing completely for work, and so I said, that's a bit of overkill. I just stuck with the lanyard.
So you used to get on a map and how to tell you thing. Just are you ready for work?
Yeah, well, I don't wear a tie for work, but yeah.
You used to get up and pressing the pleats.
with starch and everything. There are some people who are also like going for a walk, like to pretend that they're commuting.
Mm-hmm.
So the time that they would spend on the train or walking to work or driving to work, they'll spend that going for a walk, come back to the house, and then start work. And then when they finish work, they do another walk and come home.
I suppose you can say it's exercise.
Somebody in the chat reckon you have no pajamas, actually.
Aye. That is too much information or too little.
Angela, you're shocking, man. You're shocking.
Angela shot him on film.
Too much information or too little information. One of the two.
That's funny.
Wow. So, Charmaine, what kind of boundaries have you been setting in terms of the whole work from home?
Oh, I'm not sure I'm setting a lot of good boundaries.
Don't feel judged, Charmaine.
However, I will say, Phil, to work in my pajamas. I get started in the morning early and I just go at it. And sometimes, and I'm going to be completely honest, sometimes I'm there until I'm finished. So judge me.
But what happened if you got the Zoom call though?
Yeah, Zoom call. Then I do the top and like a little cardigan thing. That's the
necklace.
Yeah,
you wearing that today?
And a little lipstick, and it looks like all of us that you look fancy.
Yeah.
But no, I think what you have to do is, like I've been trying at least to set the alarm so I know what time I should stop. Even if I don't always stop, because I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't always stop, and but that's okay. It's on me. So I've decided I'm going to, put in a little extra, and then there's some days in which I, take that time back. But also I kind of have built in 2 exercise days where I work with a trainer. So I actually have to stop on those days because those 2 days are my fulfillment days. Where
as a trainer online or trainers in your bubble?
I have a trainer who comes here, so it's us one-on-one. So there are a couple of things in that one. I can't. I pay for it before, so I can't miss it because I would love to miss it all the time. So I try my best to pay for it before, so that there is a financial reason to stop,
commit,
and to do this. And yes, the commitment takes not only time but energy, because a lot of the times you have meetings and things that you would like to. You say, "Oh, I can juggle this around," but quite frankly, especially now, being fit and kind of exercising and having your mind sort of reset is super important. So to me, it's a part of my sort of COVID avoidance mechanisms to be more fit and healthy, and to keep my mind active and right. So I also started Spanish just to kind of give myself one less thing to worry about with COVID. If I have to go and study my Spanish verbs and nouns, I would not be thinking about COVID. So
true.
A couple of things that you can do to just make this time not as onerous, because it certainly feels like a really heavy time. And I think the more things that you do to allow that time to be easier, whatever that means, including pajamas. I think whatever a nice time, you should include. Well, and I say including pajamas, but also including I'm putting on my clothes for work, and this is my work time, and I'm taking off my lanyard, and this is not my work time. Whatever works for you, that's what you think you should do.
Trabajo en casa. Like, I don't know. How would you say that in Spanish?
Hey.
He put it. You.
She said she knows Starkville. She knows.
He shot into there, boy. You. He putting everybody on the spot.
I'm sure he said it correctly. I don't remember any Spanish.
You, man, it's something else.
So did you want to come in on that, Rachel?
Well, can
Yeah.
you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
The thing I find that's so important is to manage your support system, but you have to determine what that is for you and what you need to continuously refuel yourself. I think that is hugely important because work can take over. Some mornings I'm up at 4, happily doing what I need to do. And my day, by 9 o'clock, I could have accomplished quite a lot. But I also need to determine what do I need. And, it's like checking yourself throughout the day to say, okay, what would be good for me now? What is my definitely cutoff times? Not taking calls after a certain time or whatever, but what do I need? And defining that for yourself is so important because some people, I have one staff member that exercise is her thing. So if you're on lockdown, she's out on a morning because that's the only time that we can get to exercise. And knowing what you need to refuel. Sometimes it is having a setting like this. Like some people are benefiting so much from just this program because they have a sense of community. They're hearing a discussion, and that's their way of energizing themselves. Your energy is really where it's at because you're then able to function when you need to show up and not feel so heavy. That lightens your load, but you have to define what that is. Is that sitting quietly reading a book? Is that, learning something new? Even I've discovered word finds in this time, and I'm like, I actually did not know that this is what it would do for me to sit down and just do a word find, and you feel accomplished. Even if some weeks you feel like you're not getting through a whole lot, it could be a fun. But hey, I rediscovered the joys of word finds. It's something so simple.
Wow.
Yeah, some people make that distinction between introverts and extroverts in this season, where extroverts get energy from social contact and introverts lose energy in social contact. So there's been so I think the studies have said extroverts are suffering a lot more than introverts in this season, and forums like this or even team meetings, for example. But I mean, like, one of the things that my division that I'm part of, the technology strategy and architecture division is called, is that we've now suddenly have these 1 week check-ins with the entire division where everybody comes in and somebody presents, and we just question, why have we not been doing this before? Because finally we know what everybody else is working on. So we just never did it before that.
Yeah, we do something similar as well. We do every 2 weeks we do a stand-up. So it's like, 50 plus people, and all the managers go through and just talk. But we in a physical office, it was so difficult to achieve that, but it just works really well in the online space. Everybody crowd into teams. We all do a stand-up and we talk about what we're doing. It works really, really well. I want to dial back to something. No, go ahead, Trey. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, are people generally feeling Zoom fatigue at this point as yet, though?
Yes.
Ever since.
Zoom and Teams and all that kind of stuff. And what does that mean, really, as far as, going back into the office or not, and what's not, How generally are people feeling? I can tell you, I got Zoom fatigue now. And now I don't even want to turn on my camera because I sometimes can't be bothered. But if everyone else's camera is on,
you don't want to turn on your camera?
There.
I tell you, I don't know why I'm friends with these people. Seriously.
We had you as the fellow who was the first in the meeting. Is everybody there?
Not at all. Not at
Hello.
Turn on your camera. I want to see everybody. No, I am not that person. I get tired of it. I mean, how generally do you guys feel about that? Stacey, yourself, you find you getting a bit of Zoom fatigue?
I got Zoom fatigue like by last year, July, because I work in the health space. So there were so many webinars and so many team meetings and virtual launches. Like everything was Zoom. And I was, particularly our team meetings, I was like, y'all don't need to see me. I was like, I'm done. Y'all can hear me. That's enough. But I've tried now to implement a strategy where, because we have weekly meetings, I try to at least do the majority of the meeting on camera, because it kind of builds camaraderie and connection between the team. So I try to get better at that. But I'm generally quite tired of Zoom, and I'm an extrovert, so I don't do well in these very closed off, disconnected spaces either. So I've had to try and find community on WhatsApp or Facebook or those platforms really.
Okay, that's interesting.
I saw Didi Paris there said that they were an extrovert and they're fine at home. So that's quite interesting. Philip, I don't agree. I'm an extrovert. That's strange for people not to agree with me. But anyway, I'm an extrovert and I'm happy working from home.
You man on farm today, though. You all right? What you have for dinner, man?
It's probably the water.
You need to get back in the office, man.
I reckon you gotta take away today. He ain't cut today.
Oh, fish and chips.
He ain't cut today.
Sacrilegious.
Lasagna.
I wanted to roll back on something that I saw in the chat there from Suzanne Downs, who was saying that when she looked at her Microsoft Health check, she realized that she was working between midnight and 5 a.m. And I wanted to hear from you guys if you found a complete disruption to your sleep pattern over the course of this season and find yourself just working in some crazy stupid hours.
Yeah. I certainly have.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I certainly if I am launching a campaign or something like that that's really intense, I find that I don't sleep well at night, and my productivity level kind of goes up at night. So I try to do a lot of answering to my emails at that point in time that I would not ordinarily have during the day, because I might be on a Zoom call or I might be in a webinar. So I find at night that 12 to 2 o'clock hour, unfortunately, I'm answering emails or sending out emails, sending out a press release for the next morning. So unfortunately, I have that dynamic.
Get your lanyard on.
Need a lanyard, man. Phil send her a lanyard, man.
I know it's all right.
I find
2 in the morning. Wow.
I find because I work in a bit longer hours, the need to switch off has changed a little bit, because sometimes you can switch off in the commute. For me, it's a train and not driving, so I don't have to necessarily pay attention to the road. But then you find like, if for whatever reason you're sitting at the computer, you're answering emails and stuff, and it's 8, 9 o'clock, you still feel that need I need to switch off now. But then by the time you get up now to do something, you realize it's 12:30 or it's 1 o'clock. Because you still need that point of doing nothing, of not doing work, right? Otherwise, if you just go to bed, you wake up, it's like, oh, you didn't stop. So I find that that's what's changed the sleep patterns quite a lot. And I don't know if it's something to do with staring at the screen all day, that something messes with your eyes as far as being able to be tired and go to sleep at night. And I don't know if there's something in that. I'm sure someone in the chats could tell me.
I think so. I think there's no disconnect anymore. Like there is, what's the difference between work and home? All of a sudden, it's all one place. So it's almost like this is not a safe space for sleep or relaxation anymore, just because I find myself too often picking up the laptop. If I see an alert come on the phone, I'll pick up the laptop and I'll actually do what needs to be done. I'm not, and I think that's part of it, is like the boundary between the place where you work and the place where you sleep. Because now they're one, it's not, it's harder to make that distinction, which is really, it's unfortunate, but it's something we're going to have to, it looks like we're going to have to live with it for a little while, at least. I think we just have to get better at working on it. Definitely, though, I can say sleep pattern. Yeah, COVID has drastically affected mine. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but
I think that, to me, that's why it comes down to the importance of managing your energy and what that looks like. Because there are some weeks, granted, that you may be a bit busier. I actually love my 4 a.m. mornings where I'm up. It's my most creative time. And so I may go till 9, but then I may do something for myself at that point in time, or my day shifts into something that's different, different, more customer related, instead of, heavily focused on the screen. But at the end of the day, it's about what do I need, and having those checkpoints, asking yourself, okay, what do I need? Because while 1 week may look a certain way, if you continue on the trend, then a few weeks down the road, you may say, God, I'm so heavy, it's so depleted. But you haven't been doing those things to fuel yourself, refuel, to feed yourself, to give you energy. And the decision about, okay, you know what, my cutoff is definitely got to be 6:30 or 7 or whatever the case is, because I recognize that it's starting to impact how I show up, how I feel, how I function.
This is interesting because at work I've created this framework where I said, forget work-life balance, it does not exist. Talk about work-life convergence. And what we need to do now is
wait, hold on. Look, we don't usually do this, right? But let me make you big in the screen, cause I feel that you're gonna
come in here.
Yeah, go.
Right, so
work-life
convergence. So work-life convergence is dealing with the fact that there is no boundary between work and home. There is no boundary between professional and personal. So what you now need to do is create a completely new mindset for creating boundaries. And it's exactly what you said, Rachel. And there are 3 sort of areas that I put into this framework. One is thinking about well-being. Some days your well-being is where you need to place your energy. There's one I prepared before.
Always come prepared. There you go.
Other days it's about productivity, and then other days you can put some energy into sustainability. And sustainability is your relationship with the environment and the ecology. And it's all about relationships. So what you are doing now is you're actually carrying around your relationships constantly. So you have your well-being is your relationship with yourself and with your family and with your friends and sort of your private sphere. Whereas productivity is your relationship with your customers, your colleagues, your place of work, and so on. And then sustainability, as I said, is your relationship with the environment. And what you do with work-life convergence is you do a transfer of energy. So you start to tune throughout the day. How much energy am I putting into my well-being? How much energy am I putting into productivity? And productivity here isn't just about delivery. It's really about the quality of work experience, which is the quality of engagement with your colleagues, with your customers. And there is delivery that follows from that. And then the third element is of course sustainability, because there are some big wins that we've got from switching off stuff during lockdown, in that parts of the earth has managed to replenish itself in some spaces. Pollution levels have dropped because there's less commuting. And maybe those are some things that we can take back into whatever the next season looks like, that we still think of those 3 things and not just try to create this strict, thick boundary between work and home, because it doesn't exist. Because when you go to work,
Lord,
you don't. Let me make you small again, boy.
When you go to work, you don't just shut off your family. When I look at the phone, I see is Nicole calling, I will answer it. Of course.
You don't feel, I'll be getting sis or no, you know. You know.
Watch key eyes on chat. Key eyes on chat.
Yeah. You notice how he paused there for effect, though.
Yeah. He's a good speaker, boy. He's a real good speaker.
Yeah. Good man.
She came downstairs.
That is a fantastic framework, though, Phil.
No, I think so. I agree with that, Phil.
Absolutely.
I like that.
That might turn up somewhere in the West Midlands this week on a team meeting.
Well, look, the chats agree too. You know, that's pretty awesome, Mr. Phillip. You know, Michelle Griggs there saying,
Jeez,
you know,
great.
such a deep thinker, so profound.
Profound.
Hey, he like that kind of stuff. Stop, daughter, he saw too often. He like that kind of.
Stop it in the chat. Stop it.
Stop that, Suzanne. Stop that. No. Owen, daughter, he saw.
But anyway, that has been. I found that a useful thing to do with my lanyard time.
Hey, Bonnet. Yeah, no, I thought that's a great thing there, Phil. I like that. We can put that on the page. Anyone wanna use that or refer to that, but by all means do that.
Yes, but getting the right balance there. You wanted to jump in there on that, Stacey? Saw some stuff there that looked interesting.
I think he's actually quite right. You have, I think, being mindful helps quite a bit in terms of being conscious of what you are working on and taking time in either of these spaces. It helps your productivity, it helps your mindset, it helps your mentality, it helps your health. I think it helps everything in being an individual. So that is definitely something very profound, Philip.
The Philip triangle is what we calling it.
That's what we can call it. Phil, you can go trademark that, you know. I feel some people can be looking to screenshot that in a minute, you know.
Triangle in your life.
I think that's so true. Also, because there are a lot of jobs that are online that never were thought of, like judges operating online. That's something that, and it's already an intense job already, and working from home, and they still have kids to take care of and doing homeschool with them. So I think that diagram actually helps people to navigate what they're doing very well, and it's very, very profound, Philip.
Everybody,
let me just put it back there one more time.
Put it up again, man.
So people can see. Yeah. Watch everybody screenshotting it now.
Yeah. Philip, you can go put a watermark on that. Put a watermark behind that so that it's yours, you know. So you got to do something there. No, I think that's fantastic stuff. Absolutely. That's good stuff. That's definitely good stuff.
I'm gonna add to that and enhance the diagram even a little bit more. And
there you go.
Add in some intentionality to every aspect. So the triangle is absolutely perfect, but you're setting your intentions around each area. Knowing what those are helps you to take the action, or you know what, inaction. Some of the well-being, maybe taking a nap for 15 minutes in the day.
Absolutely,
so, that's a huge part of it too.
Wow. Let's stay on that point. Let's stay on that point of well-being, because this hasn't worked for a lot of people, you know. And you know, whilst we talk about our experiences and how we've gone around the circle with it over the last year, working from home hasn't worked for a lot of people. Charmaine, perhaps you can share some of your experience in supporting others where it just has not worked for them.
Yeah. So I think we forget that there are genuinely some people who are alone. And I think, and for one, I spoke to a colleague of mine last week. We were collaborating on something, and, you know, in the conversation, one of the things she shared was that sometimes when her mother leaves in the morning and when she comes back in the night and she greets her, that's the only time she speaks to a person.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like tears sprung to my eyes, because I couldn't even fathom that somebody who I'm friendly with could be so lonely, could be so devoid of a connection, you know. And I was just like, well, talk to us, like, you know, reach out some more and whatever. But many people don't have those tools, and so instead of talk to us, maybe you have to reach out more and to say, hey, how are you doing? Or to involve people in, you know, little things that you're doing, so that there becomes a sense of connection That work, and I think work is, because we spend so much time there and so much of our energy is put into work, it is an important part of many people's lives. And removing that connection from people also has left them with a void. And we were talking about introvert versus extrovert. And yes, for the introverts, we're all having a celebration party. But yeah, extroverts, not so much, not so much. So we need to, to be mindful of the fact that, work from home may leave some people behind. Also, people talk about micromanaging as a negative thing. Some people actually thrive on micromanaging. So some people actually want people to guide them as they go along and be with them, right? Yeah. And that's not happening as much now because there are so many things that are going on. So work from home works for a lot of people, myself included, but it doesn't work for all. And that's also something that we have to take on board.
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to the same point we were talking about early on about flexibility. I think during this period, obviously, some people the feeling of having to work from home being imposed and somehow denying me of my right to move around and what's not, which is a real thing. But I think coming out of this, the option to go one way or the other and to flex is going to be very, very important. Because for some people, going into the office is an outlet as well, a way to get away from whatever home environment might not be, not just conducive to working, but conducive to a good mental health and well-being as well. So there's that aspect that work plays as well beyond getting a paycheck and beyond where you do it from. So that's going to be very important.
Yeah.
And just thinking about all of these studies that are saying, domestic violence, there are lots of reasons in some cases not to work from home. And Vonette is pointing out some people cannot work from home.
Yes. Very much so. I saw that. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I think there has to be some sort of the word option, as Andre keeps pointing out. It's, I think, the key to it. I think, we need to get back to a time in which work from home is an option, but get back to normalcy so that people can do what they need to do. And those folks who want to be in an office situation can also do that.
Agree. But it's funny because I'm glad to see Vonette's comment there, because I think when we say work from home, the assumption is we're all talking about office-based people.
Yeah.
Or jobs that require an office, and then the other side of that is probably manufacturers which cannot work from home. But there are many people whose job is neither nor, and is entertainment, and is singing, and is getting out there and physically interacting with an audience to get paid. So there's that aspect of working from home, what it means, what it doesn't mean for many different areas of people where they work. That's pretty important as well. So entertainment and different industries are important to have in that conversation when we're thinking about working from home.
Absolutely. And, even though Vonette is well placed to speak to this, what the Caribbean can do in this space now is lead the world in demonstrating, actually, how does entertainment come online? How does it become a revenue generator for people around the world? Because we do these things very well. And some of what we've seen over the course of COVID has been very, very excellent, particularly in Trinidad. So whilst we've been learning, it's been painful, there could be a future where it becomes a real big event for the Caribbean. We lead in this space.
No, I agree. I agree. 100%. 100%. Wait, you were going to put something up?
No. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I mean, so I guess we started out the conversation talking about is working at home for us. And us meaning West Indians, Caribbean people, and what's not. So far, what is the mood of people? I mean, Rachel and Stacey, I can ask you that as well. What's the mood of Bajans? And for people in the chat, people who might be outside of Barbados in different parts of the world as well, just let us know where you're from and what are you thinking? What are your peers thinking? Rachel?
Yep. I think the challenge is sometimes the overwhelm that happens, and it is partially working from home, and it's just partially what's happening in the world. You're seeing things happening in your own local environment, and you're seeing things happening on an international scale, and so it is just a different time. What I have found is that overwhelm can permeate and almost paralyze in some cases because you're just trying to cope. And I think that is, critical in how you manage it. And I've come up with a few little tools that I've tried to give and use with my clients to help them through.
Oh, share a few with us. Share a few.
So one of them is
Hope it's better than a triangle.
Yeah.
Philip, they're going, don't upstage me. Don't upstage me.
What she coming here with now? What she coming here with now?
Philip knows one and likes one.
Yes.
But I find that sometimes overwhelms happen when you just don't even know what is overwhelming you. You are in a position that you just feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, but you haven't even identified what that weight consists of. So I like to tell people, think of it like you have a knapsack on. And you're going to take it off and you're going to look inside and you're going to see, all right, what do I have in here that is weighing me down, that is on my mind? And it can range from tasks with work to family situations to even just emotions. And to identify the thing is really paramount in figuring out what you're carrying, first of all, because sometimes we don't even know what's there. We just know that we feel overwhelmed. So identification is a huge part of what is there, what am I dealing with? And then I like to have people apply what I call the 4 Ds. And you look at your item that you're dealing with or the situation and say, okay, first of all, do I have to do this? Is this a task or an area that really involves me and me alone that I have to be present to do? The second thing is, can I delegate it to someone? Maybe it's even delegating to the kids to say, hey, we're all needing to work together, so we need to assign some roles here. We need to help each other wash the dishes. It is futile you running around trying to do everything. So do I have to do it, first of all? If not, can I delegate it? Who can I delegate it to? The third one is, can I delay it? Maybe this is something that doesn't have to be done right now, this day or this week. It is something that has to be done, but maybe I can shift it 2 weeks off. And that in itself can help lighten your load to say, okay, yeah, this absolutely has to get done, but I don't really have to do it right now. And just taking it from 1 week to another is critical because you're then learning to prioritize what has to be done now. And then finally, can I dismiss it? Is it something that is in my backpack that it really doesn't belong there? And it could be a task or it could be a situation that you're taking on that really has no responsibility in there. It's someone else's responsibility, but you're carrying the burden of this task or this challenge or this emotion or feeling. So I just find that, applying some of these techniques can help people just feel a bit lighter, and even just recognize, hold on, I'm carrying things that don't even belong to me.
Wow.
So, this is so good. Yeah. So that's do, delegate, delay, or dismiss.
Or dismiss.
It's
You
good.
want to add one, Phil?
No, 4 is.
No.
4 is
Oh,
enough.
I
I
was just checking. I was just checking.
4 is perfect.
4 is okay. 4 is
You
good.
go for a triangle, so you don't recognize the square.
Yeah.
I think this is really, really good. When I was chatting with Rachel
awesome, man.
about coming
Awesome.
on the show, this is one that we were discussing. And as I started applying it for myself and thinking through some of my own scenarios, I found it really useful, immediately, that there are things at work that I just don't delegate. And sometimes I don't, we talked about, is this for us? And there's sometimes some behaviors that we have. It might not be a completely West Indian thing. It might be a Philip thing. It might be a Robinson thing. I don't know. But delegation is a very hard thing to do sometimes, of passing on work to somebody else and releasing your ownership of that task. And delay is not procrastination. Delay is scheduling something at the right time.
Yeah.
And dismissing is not it's not irresponsibility.
It's not exactly.
Yeah. So it's really good.
I'm with
Powerful.
it. I like that. I like that. The 4 Ds. I'm gonna have to try and apply that.
Yeah.
Wow. So we we're getting a lot of really useful stuff from the show today in terms of application, because I certainly will be looking to lift quite a bit of this over the course of the next couple of weeks. What are you smiling at, Stacey?
No, I was in definite agreement with Rachel. She's such a good coach. And I think it really, like, now in Barbados, I think, like, for mothers especially who are still trying to find that balance, it's important to also take time for yourself, whether it's 5 minutes or 2 hours, but try to find time for yourself. If it's shutting the bedroom door, asking the kids to just give you a moment, so that you just have that time to kind of filter through the noise in your head about what might be contributing to how you feel. I think is really, really important. And also finding things around the house that you might love doing. It might be gardening, it might be playing with the dogs, it might be playing cricket outside with the kids, or throwing around a ball with them. Whatever, find something that you love that can energize you and make you feel as though, okay, let me just take a breather. Let me just decompress for a moment. I think it might be scrolling through social media, whatever the case is. But just find those little things that can help you decompress as an individual, and then you can then give into the kids or give into work and be more productive too.
Awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
Wow.
Definitely like that.
Charmaine, I guess we got to find out what are your secrets then.
I think I shared a lot of my secrets already.
Yeah, man.
Like, honestly, I think the taking time for yourself is the most important, especially at this time when, you know, a lot of us are disconnected from our usual sources of joy. I can't tell you, I miss laughing loudly with a big bunch of my friends at a bar. I miss that deeply.
Well, this in a bar, but hopefully you had a few laughs today.
Not one drink was had.
Well, you're assuming that this is tea. Just saying.
That's tea. Just so everybody knows.
There's definitely water. After running the 10K today,
No,
you know?
I hate to say it, but even things like this is a lovely little outlet. We are meeting people virtually through the chat, and they're talking about their lives and what they're doing. And we're also having a conversation and kind of leading that charge. But I think gathering wherever we can, I think it's amazing just to be able to kind of vibe off other people and get some sort of relief from what is a serious situation. Love it.
Wow.
No. Well, this has been so good to hear, you know, the experiences of people across the region, and even in the chat, I know we have a ton of guys out of Trinidad. I see some people I know from St. Lucia and Vincent and different places all over the world, and just hear them, or see them rather, contributing, you know, what they're been going through, how they're looking at lockdown and how they're even looking at coming out of lockdown has been great. So I thought this has been a really good conversation.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I was just going to ask a quick question to Charmaine. Is that a real orchid behind your head?
Yeah, it is a real orchid.
Okay.
The man is sending it. So so what if it was not, Philip?
If it was not, that's fine.
You asked it, so the man something else today.
But the reason I asked that, right, is because in our house, orchids come here to die.
Yeah, they're very temperamental. So I'm hoping for the best with this one. I also had one which didn't do so well.
Yeah.
So I'm just becoming, you know, like having plans because that's not my forte.
But orchids are interesting because they're I can't remember what you call their type of roots, but they're, you know, they don't have roots that go underground. They have roots that take in water vapor, moisture from the air. So I find that if you put steam around them, then they seem to have a longer life.
There you go.
Yeah, so putting them in the shower is a good idea.
For example,
outside in the rain is a good idea. So I'm learning to work with her and trying to make sure that she lives her best life and not dies like the other one.
Yeah, we've had too many tragedies, orchid tragedies.
That's on your watch, Phil.
So
is there anything else to talk about?
Bring Charmaine back in 2 months and see if that orchid is
Yes,
still there.
yes.
Yeah, we will definitely. We've been telling her to
Orchid
send in
watch.
some pictures all the time, so we
Orchid
can know
watch
that
is
it's still living.
Yes, he's
Definitely.
he wears many hats.
No,
DD.
no, definitely not.
Do you have a triangle for that, Phil? Just checking. I don't know.
I just have a thing with orchids. That's it.
Someone say you sounding a bit traumatized that your orchids don't live.
Yeah. Honestly, because it is a bit traumatic. you know, 'cause when they bloom, they're just the most beautiful things.
Beautiful,
and then
man.
when they die, it's like, what have I done?
But look, I think this has been a fantastic conversation and one that's timely as well, because I think around the world with the vaccines and what's not, you know, and you know, hopefully places like Jamaica gets a lot better. I'm sure it will going forward. I think everyone's had their spikes and stuff, so hopefully you're going to be over the hill soon. Coming out of lockdown, and not lockdowns, coming out of this period of COVID-19 and what work will look like, work across many industries will look like, is definitely a good conversation to have. And one that we need to think about in the Caribbean as well. As I was saying, you know, before, and as I saw some people saying in the chat, not only about work, physical work, but looking at infrastructure. Guys, children at school, recognizing a bit of a digital, you know, impoverishment, so to speak, or a digital apartheid, I think someone called it, how people are just separated as far where that's concerned. So all those kind of things during the season is what we're now going to have to look at, and hopefully coming out of it, not just that employers actually be a bit more flexible, but employees as well, and then from a policy and infrastructure development level from governments, that also becomes a little bit better looking forward. So I want to thank you guys for coming and sharing your wisdom and experiences with us today.
Absolutely.
Phil?
Thank you.
Baby, no. Mark, you go, because we can give Phil that last word there, because I think he won't go last today. But Mark.
Yes, Phil with his like green thumb, as I saw there in the chat. Well, let's first of all celebrate Rachel and Stacy with what they're doing across social media. Rachel as a coach, so you can go find her on Facebook at Rachel Thomas Coach, and you can go find Stacy across Instagram as the Style Coach, and you know, Charmaine is very private. She but very, very good. You know, always
very good, as you always say.
Never far away when I need a word of advice. So yeah, on today's show, you know, awesome. And before we get to the end, let's also say, you know, tomorrow is International Women's Day, and you know, we love to celebrate our Caribbean women here in the living room. It's really important for us to do that, and we just wish you guys well tomorrow and every day. So today,
every day. I was gonna say every day.
Awesome,
Every day.
awesome show. You know, listening to what is happening across the region, how it's affecting everybody, and the experiences shared, and how we can better support one another. Pleasure, absolute
Indeed,
pleasure.
indeed. Phil?
No, it was an excellent show. I really enjoyed the conversation, the banter, as they say. But loads of learning, and I think the answer to that question is working from home for us is probably,
Yeah.
and I think it just varies, you know.
Yeah.
Indeed,
I think it means something different for everyone. You
Yeah.
know, not necessarily going to be, it's 100% for some people. For some people, as we keep saying throughout the course of today, people just want to have the option to flex, you know, and it not being judged or looked down upon or for somewhere penalized for wanting those options. So I think it's been great. So ladies, thank you so much for joining us. Guys in the chat, just let everyone know that you're thanking them as well. Just thank everyone for just joining us today. You know, give them a good old V Global living room thank you, as I know you guys always do in our chats. And we'll just throw up a few.
yeah.
But it's been a fantastic conversation, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope you all guys had fun. You guys had fun?
Very
Always a good time.
That was a good time. Okay, good. Indeed.
Would you come back?
Ooh.
Okay.
But it took Charmaine a year. It took Charmaine a year.
She has to make sure the plant survives. She's under pressure. She has
We should have a whole show about the plants.
Horticulture in the Caribbean.
No,
Mark,
that is
write
a
that down. We can put that down.
That is a good show.
Bring your
We're
croton
gonna
and come.
we're gonna definitely have that conversation because I think we need to have it. We need to have it for sure. But ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you in the living room.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Awesome.
Awesome. My thing here a bit. There we go.
Got it.
Good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
I love it. I love it. I just want to say a shout out to Dee Dee Paris there in the chat as well, who she said is her first foray into the living room.
Indeed. Per Adua Adastra, Didi.
Welcome, man. Welcome.
Loads of good contributions and reflections.
Oh,
as well.
she's an Alexandrian as well.
Of course. You know I like to shout. Well, I saw Phil, you got up and on in there somewhere. Someone said when I put big, you
Really?
realize, wait, that's Phil.
Up and on.
You know, that was a great conversation. And as we talk about, we really got to think about what coming out of this looks like. And I think we got to start having those conversations now, because we're on our way out of it.
Yeah, and you can see that people really welcome the opportunity to just engage with it and speak about the challenges, because this whole issue of trust and whether we can work from home or not work from home, that was always around prior to the pandemic. That's been tested to its limits during the pandemic, and we hope there'll be a lot of things that can't stick around, but we would hope that this as a potential opportunity to vary how the workforce engages, how we are able to manage our time better. Hopefully something positive can come from this.
Yeah,
I think
I
the
think
element
so.
of creativity, was still there emphasized. But sometimes creativity can be a throwaway word. Because at the beginning when people were saying, look, I don't know what to do, people were telling them, just be creative. Up and on, Shelley. Up and on. Just saw that there. Yes. That's my good friend Shelley Miller. People were saying, be creative. But sometimes you still have to give people some guidelines and some guidance and some tools to be creative with, and resources as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
No, I think so. I thoroughly enjoyed that conversation. And yeah, we said before, this is 2 shows in a row, actually. Someone pointed out, this is 2 shows in a row, all female team joining the living room, guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's good.
So I think it's good. I think it's extremely good. But look, it's been fantastic. What y'all guys getting up to this week? Besides ushering off the children to school, or that's about the only highlight that everybody looking forward to this week.
I'll be trying to apply Phil's framework.
Hey.
No, I like
Phil watermark it, and we can stick it up on the Facebook page.
Okay.
Seriously, seriously, we gotta put it up. Serious. If you want to put a little narrative wrong it, put a little narrative wrong it too, and get it up there, man.
Michael Cumberbatch
says, don't ignore my... Yeah, I will add you, Michael.
He said you will go up a level, man. People will not start thinking notice.
But someone suggested you should do a Facebook post on that. Oh, sorry, LinkedIn little video clip on that. Actually, I agree.
Actually, I might write it. I might write it this week.
Not write it. You gotta video it. You gotta put yourself on
video
camera
chat.
and a video chat and put it up on LinkedIn. I think that would be great.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
You don't gonna need a powder.
Thank you, Andre.
But if you do,
you know where to go.
Whatever you do. Listen. Anyway, look, guys in the audience, thank you so much. Let me shout out a few people. I always shout out people, man. I like to shout out my people. Nanette Moore, saw you in there. How you doing, Nanette? Valerie Rock, Owen Critchlow, welcome. Hal Springer, Michael Cumberbatch, as usual. Michael, you know what we can tell you? Movie TV. Pat, how you doing? Cheryl, how's it going? And Blackman, how you doing? Didi Paris, welcome Didi. Who else we got in there? We got Shelly Miller, we got Linda Joyford, Rhoda Barath. How you doing, Rhoda? Our good friend from Trinidad. Give us a little shout if you're doing something tonight, Rhoda. Let people know what you're talking about on your life. Brenda Ben, Michelle Grigg, Jean Proverbs. How you doing in there as well? Loads and loads of people. Angela, Alicia, Suzanne Downs, how you doing? Therese Neblet, how you doing? I know I miss a lot of people, but Sabina Maria, how you doing? Look, we don't ever take it for granted that you guys
No.
take a couple hours on Sunday to join us and, have a chat, learn some stuff as we do. We learn a lot in these conversations, and we thank you so much for contributing, because to be quite honest, you guys make the show. We don't put this stuff up on the screen just because. You guys are make valuable contributions as well, and we thank you for that. Without that, the show won't be what it is. So we want to thank you guys quite a lot for doing that. So guys, we off. Enjoy this week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy what you're doing. If you're here in the UK and the kids going back to school, enjoy that. In the Caribbean, enjoy yourself as well. Pay attention to your protocols in Barbados, Jamaica. Be safe. St. Lucia, same thing. Be safe as well. Have a fantastic week. Until next time. And there's Rhoda saying what she's
Gotta
doing.
go and wash this powder off my face now.